Alright, if you clicked on this video, you've heard a lot about drop servicing cleaning and maybe even remote cleaning, remote moving, drop servicing with GMB, and all these other types of drop servicing. And honestly, I don't think they're scams, but I do think that there's a lot of people who aren't really telling you. Because after doing drop servicing for 3 years, I realized that people aren't really being taught the original thing anymore. They're being taught a specific branch of it, and sometimes that branch is harder than most people realize. So I've compiled the biggest questions people have, and I'm going to answer them truthfully. Not from someone claiming they're making 100K a month, but from someone who's been obsessed with the business for the last 3 years. I started when I was 13, made my first 7K a month at 13, and I've pretty much lived and breathed the business ever since. So by the end of this video, you know whether drop servicing cleaning is for you or whether the original model was better for you, and you just get to know the actual reality of the whole thing. So the biggest misconception is thinking that drop servicing cleaning is just like usual drop servicing. Technically it is, but they're also very different. Drop servicing itself is simple. You sell a service to a client that already wants it, but you're not actually doing the work. Instead, you go get someone who's good at the service to do the work, and you pay them out of what your client has already paid you, like an upfront fee. Then you pay the person good at the service to do that work, and you just pocket the difference. So think of a restaurant. There's a guy, the owner behind your favorite restaurant, but he isn't the one actually making that pasta or the pizza that you eat at your favorite restaurant. He has chefs making all that for you. You enjoy the food, you pay the money, he then pays the chefs and he keeps the rest. That's basically drop servicing. But that's how drop servicing cleaning is as well. So if they're both technically drop servicing, then why am I even separating them in the first place? Well, this is actually where our first problem comes in, and this leads us to our first question. Can you actually start without money? Because if you've watched these gurus, you've probably heard them say yes, or they never even address the question in the first place. But it's not that simple. If you're drop servicing cleaning, then you're usually going to be using Google Maps to set up your business, and you're going to need reviews. Lots of reviews actually. This is the GMB strategy where you rank high on Google Maps so people can call your business and then buy your service. Now, some people teach really sketchy ways of getting those reviews, and Google is constantly trying to crack down on all that. So they delete your reviews, and you need to go get more from wherever you got them. And so realistically, to get reviews that stick, to actually make your business show, quite a bit of money is usually needed to start. But with original drop servicing, your services and your clients are online as well. So you could email them, message them, call them, and offer to be, for example, their video editor. If they agree, you collect an upfront payment and you use that money to pay your contractor, that the person that will be doing the video editing, for example. So you have your first client, none of your money has been spent, and you start with basically nothing. So with drop servicing cleaning, you often need money before you've even made money, but with the original drop servicing model, you could genuinely start with next to nothing. But you see, money isn't actually the biggest issue here, because the next question is, do you need experience? And the answer is not at all. This is actually a positive for both drop servicing cleaning and the original drop servicing model. You don't need to know how to clean, and neither do you need to know how to edit videos or build websites. The whole business model is literally built around hiring people who already know how to do those things. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some skills you need, like communication, client handling, negotiation, which is basically sales. But here's the cool thing. You actually get paid to learn those skills. You don't need those skills to go start your first drop servicing business. You basically get to learn them on the job, and you get better as time goes on. So the third question is, how do you get high quality contractors? Now, this is actually a very valid concern, but it's also where things start to get a bit annoying. 5-star reviews help, but remember, just like you're trying to rank a business on Google, contractors can also fake their reviews as well. So if you're drop servicing cleaning, you might have to pay for test cleans by sending them to a family member or friend to actually see how they do. And you're going to have to do this until you find someone that's actually good. But with original drop servicing, if it's something like a video edit, you could ask for a small sample for free. What I'd usually do is ask for a 15-second edit, and I'd use that to measure their performance. Obviously, not everyone's going to agree, but most people would, and this way testing can be much cheaper and sometimes even free. But what happens when you finally found a contractor? Well, that leads us to our fourth question. What if your contractor ruins the service? Now, this is actually one of the biggest things that nobody talks about. With drop servicing cleaning, they physically go to somebody's home, but you're sitting at your own home, you can't see what's happening, and if your contractor does a terrible job or breaks something in the process, then you're gonna have to pay for damages, and you could even get into some pretty deep legal issues as well. Now, obviously, insurance exists if you have the money for that, but it's just another expense. However, with the original drop servicing model, you get the work before your client gets it, you have total control over the quality, and you fix mistakes before your client ever sees them. This way, your contractor can't mess up anything without you seeing it first, and your client gets an almost perfect piece of work. But funny enough, that's not even the biggest risk when it comes to contractors. Because the next question is, how do you make sure your contractors don't steal your clients? And this one is actually really huge. With drop servicing cleaning, your contractor and your clients are literally face to face. You're not there, they're probably in a whole different country, and if they wanted to cut you out, there isn't really much stopping them. Honestly, you're just mostly hoping you've had loyal people. You could try to test it beforehand, but there's no 100% certain way you can tell that they're not going to backstab you in the future. But with original drop servicing, your contractor doesn't even need your client's details. You're dealing with digital work like a video or a website or graphic design or something. They do the work, they send it to you first, then you send it to the clients, and that way your business is naturally protected. Now, the next question is, can you make 10K a month? And everybody loves throwing around 10K a month. 10K a month this, 10K a month that. But honestly, I think people focus on the wrong parts. Everyone focuses on the 10K, but I focus on the a month part. Because to make money every month, people have to keep paying you every month. And now, don't get me wrong, both versions can make good money, but original drop servicing has more opportunities for recurring services. A YouTuber uploads every month, so they need an editor every month. Businesses constantly need content. People need thumbnails designed, they need their social media handles managed. All of that is recurring income. When you're drop servicing cleaning, it's possible as well, but it's just much harder to lock in a monthly deal, because most people just want a deep clean every 3 months instead of a cleaner coming in every month. And honestly, here's my opinion. I don't even see drop servicing as a 10K a month business. I see it as a stepping stone. What I like to call this is a capital builder. So you stack cash from a business you can start cheaply, and then you use that money to go build something much bigger in the future. That way, drop servicing is a part of your journey, but it's not the destination. All right, the next question is, can you start from anywhere? And honestly, this one is simple. Your location barely matters. As long as you're solving someone's problem, you're good. You just have to make sure you can communicate clearly, and if you have a bit of an accent, just work on speaking similarly to the country you're targeting clients in. That is pretty much it. Now, the next question is it illegal? And no, drop servicing itself is not illegal. You're offering a service and then you're paying someone else to fulfill it. It's completely normal. But with the strategies you use in drop servicing cleaning, that's where things can start to get a little bit weird. Because some people start talking about buying reviews and using random addresses and using a random address for your business, and overall they're just trying to game Google and cheat the system. And honestly, usually this is where things can start to get a little bit messy. If legal issues were to ever happen, they're usually around those areas and not the actual drop service in itself. So the next question is, do you need sales calls? So no, you don't need them, but you're probably going to close more deals if you do them. I closed every deal over text for 3 years, and I made good money doing that, so it is possible. But clients like seeing, or at least hearing, the person they're working with. In fact, I lost multiple opportunities at 13 because I was just way too scared to hop on camera. And there was even a guy who had multiple channels. I don't know if I have that screenshot especially, but you'll see the other ones I do have. But there was a guy who had multiple channels, and he offered for me to do the video editing for multiple, I'm sure it was 5 to 6. And I was just way too scared to actually hop on camera, so I never replied, and I lost a massive opportunity. So sales calls help. You don't necessarily need them, but don't be surprised when they eventually become a part of the game. If there's any question I didn't answer, put them down below and I'll try to answer them through the comments or in another video. Now, if after this video you still want to get into drop servicing cleaning or remote clean or whatever you call it, like, you know, just a specific branch of drop servicing, then there's loads of videos on YouTube that will teach you that, and at least now you know the actual compromise and you know what you're really getting into. But if you want to learn the original thing, actual drop servicing, then go watch this video on the screen where I go more in depth into the original model and explain how I made 7K a month at just 13 with it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.